Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. You just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And welcome to a Saturday check-down edition of Purple Daily, where we just say hello and check in with you guys for hello.
Hello, what's going on? What's up?
Presented by Quick Trip. And Jeb brought up a good idea here that we've spent so much time obsessing, rightfully so, over the future of the quarterback position. Let's give some love to the defense and talk about, for a few minutes here, kind of let's just reset the landscape of what they've done in the past 2 weeks since free agency started. Not just with personnel in and out, but some of the things we've heard from the interviews. I mean, Kevin O'Connell just went on a mini media tour at the league meetings this week, and he said they want to play more man coverage on the back end. They were doing a lot of just like week to week sort of, but they were sending a lot of pressure and then playing zone on the back end, which is not usually what you would do if you're sending a lot of pressure.
I think they stole it from Pitt.
They did. Brian Flores doing his homework in Pennsylvania. So they've said goodbye to Danielle Hunter, DJ Wanham, and Jordan Hicks on the defensive side. But they've said hello to two edge rushers, Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, who played under Brian Flores in Miami. They say hello to Blake Cashman, a younger linebacker, Shaq Griffin, he can hold his own in man coverage. He's been a good solid. I would say you can classify him as just a professional cornerback,
right?
A league average professional cornerback the last 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And then they brought in some other depth guys like Jerry Tillery, the Notre Dame defensive tackle from a few years ago. He's 27 years old, former first-round pick, hasn't quite lived up to his draft position. Defensive tackle Jonah Williams is in the door here. And then they brought in Jihad Ward, right? The edge rusher. So they've added some depth guys here too, but just your thoughts on what they've done defensively. They were 15th in scoring defense last year, which was up from bottom 3 the year before. And Brian Flores has some new chess pieces to play with.
For the most part, I love this because, what Flores did coming off of 2022, which was a bad defense. I think the personnel was not great. I think the coaching was terrible. What Brian Flores did was like he took that group and he basically did what he had to do to try to win games. Now, the last month of the season, it definitely dipped off. And, probably not so coincidentally, as much as we didn't really talk about him or praise him, that was right around the time that Byron Murphy Jr. got hurt in Cincinnati. And, then you go to cornerbacks and you're trying Andrew Booth, right? And you're trying this guy and that guy. But I think that while the loss of Hunter certainly will be impactful, I think we see the blueprint now. And this is, I think, first of all, very importantly, from an edge rushing standpoint and from Blake Cashman being plugged in with Ivan Pace at linebacker, i.e. the second level, if I may. With those two things taking place, I think what we're seeing here is a ton more speed. Like they clearly want to be quicker. They clearly want to be, when they do attack, Jordan Hicks was really good for a transitionary guy because he was really, really smart and he basically could coordinate on the field as a coach. Green dot guy. But he's also
Ivan
older.
Pace is kind of that guy now, right?
Yeah. But I mean, so Cashman and Pace though are not only going to be smart players, but they're quicker as well. And so I think because rightfully so, the quarterback position gets talked about so much and like what the Vikings are going to do on offense and because O'Connell is an offensive coach. But I think we've sort of slept on this storyline. And O'Connell made it clear, I think, when he spoke to the media in Florida on Monday or Tuesday, he said flat out to a question, Harrison Smith probably played too much. So one change, I think, is Harry's coming back. They're very pleased, and I totally get that. But I think his snaps are going to be cut back. I also think, Phil, with what you were talking about, which is, okay, now it's going to be Griffin. My estimation is this. When they get on the field for OTA 1 that is open to us, It's going to be Shaq Griffin outside, perimeter guy at the corner. It's going to be Mekhi Blackman, perimeter guy. And Murphy Jr. now is going to go inside all the time. If you recall, because of how things were constructed, he would play outside in base and go inside in nickel. But they use three safeties a ton because of that. And I wonder if Metellus and Harrison Smith are going to rotate more. I'm not saying that we won't see three safety looks, but with three guys, as far as cornerbacks, they trust more. And then keep in mind, too, because you're going to have more speed at the linebacker position, I think the three safety look will still be used. I don't think it's going to be used nearly as much as it was in 2023.
That's interesting because the three players who played the most snaps on defense for the Vikings last year were Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, and Josh Metellus. The three safeties played the most snaps. And Harrison Smith, in his career, going back to 2012, has played as an every snap guy his whole career except for when he's out with an injury. Mm-hmm. You know, he's been... In fact, last year was the most snaps he's ever played in a season in his career.
And that's ridiculous.
1,111. He's played 11,838 snaps in his NFL career. So, but back to the first number, which is the three safeties are the ones that played the most snaps of anyone. Mm-hmm. And they were also three really good players and different players, right? Josh Metellus was this like multi-level chess piece that you could deploy. He wound up with 30 pressures. He wound up with 19 quarterback hurries, but he was also a big tackler. I don't know that I want to take him off the field a whole lot, right? So I guess let's go further down that path. Having three safeties on the field was their water and oxygen last year defensively. What would it look like if they scale back on that?
Well, first of all, I think it's only fair and probably prudent that Harrison Smith is in more of a rotational. Like, he'll still play a lot, but I mean, that for a guy who's 35 now, 36, that snap count is incredible. So I think what we'll see is, and you know, Bynum could be used less as well, but I think we'll still see three safeties at times, but they basically use them all the time. And so my guess is that they are going to find a little bit more of a rotation there, which is, you know, if it works, is great. But I think what we're going to see is this, the most important thing. We're going to learn that Brian Flores was basically doing whatever he could do to make the 2023 defense not be terrible. And he did a really good job.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that, you know, if you can use guys a little bit less and they become potentially more productive because of that, not a bad thing. And plus, you know what? Guys get hurt. So worst case, if Blackman gets hurt and Murphy Jr. has to slide back outside and you don't like the depth at corner, then potentially you go back to Metellus, Harrison Smith, and Bynum playing. But this is going to open up, I think, two things. One, it's going to open up more doors for rotational usage, which is not bad because you play 17 games now. And the second thing is this is going to give us, I think, far more of an idea of what Brian Flores actually wants to do, as opposed to what he feels he has to do, because he literally took over a defense that had been embarrassingly bad and made it very respectable for a long period of the season.
Removing just the X's and O's, let's also kind of look back at the last time this happened in Vikings history, which was the last year less, and then into Mike Zimmer. So that 2013 Vikings defense, which was atrocious, just absolutely awful at everything. And Zim comes in, revamps things, but also has to inherit a lot of those pieces that weren't effective last year. He was able to start tweaking things a little bit in 2014-15, but he took over the worst defense in the NFL and made them 11th in points and 14 in yards overnight. And then he has a hell of a draft class in 2014. So then the 2015 defense turns into a top 5, top 10 defense basically overnight. And that's why it kind of dovetails perfectly in what the Vikings are doing here. The quarterbacks 2014-15 was Matt Castle as a bridge before he got hurt. And then Teddy ends up starting the majority of games in 14 and 15. And that team was built on what? Defense. Now, AP was still good. that offense wasn't really as sexy as this one can be on paper because the personnel on this offense is already 1,000 times better than what the Vikings had on offense personnel-wise. Our guy Charles Johnson was one of the best receivers on those Vikings teams, for God's sakes. But when you look at past precedent, I think that's a good indication of what can happen overnight when the right guy takes things over. He has to inherit some bad things, which is what Brian Flores did last year, and now he's kind of revamped things in free agency. I don't know how many guys they'll draft, but can he put his stamp on things, and can defense basically carry the Vikings to, what we talked about with the win total, a 7-8 win team with a rookie or a bridge quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's so hard to read with this defense. Like, are they going to get better without Danielle Hunter? Are they going to, schematically, they're going to tweak some things? I just did some math on the fly here because I was curious. Danielle Hunter is, if you took all the edge rushers that the Vikings had last year and the ones they've brought in, so like Danielle Hunter, DJ Wanham, Andrew Van Ginkel comes in, Jonathan Grenard comes in. Danielle Hunter is the best edge rusher of that group.
Yes.
At least last year he was.
Yep.
I think we would all probably agree with that, right?
Yep.
But, and I think my math is right on this. Maybe someone can double check it. But if you take pressures per pass attempt, so take all the pass rushing snaps and take all the pressures that were generated. Danielle Hunter and DJ Wanham, let's see here. So they had 118. I'm just going to finalize the math. Divided by 1,000. They played a combined 1,079 pass rushing snaps. Danielle Hunter and DJ Wanham generated a pressure on combined 11% of dropbacks. Van Ginkel and Grenard were 14% pressure rate. So this is my hot take, I guess. All due respect to DJ Wanham, who is a good, solid player last year, wound up with a career high in sacks. DJ Wanham feasted via the system and playing opposite Danielle Hunter more than him being a beast on his own.
Yes. 100%.
So I'll compare him to Van Ginkel, for instance. DJ Wanham had 38 pressures to Andrew Van Ginkel's 53. So Van Ginkel had 15 more pressures than DJ Wanham. And Van Ginkel had 120 fewer pass rush snaps to get the 15 more pressures.
Yes.
So Van Ginkel is better as a pass rusher than DJ Wanham is. And maybe with Jonathan Grenard, you're getting a guy who's a couple years younger, playing in Brian Flores' system. Can he even fill 80 to 85% of the gap that Danielle Hunter is leaving? Or maybe he just takes a big step forward playing for Brian Flores. So I don't know that they've lost in the pass rush department here.
They've actually also in Grenard gained a guy who's better against the run, which is absolutely huge. So that. And I think Grenard actually would have gotten a massive payday if not for his injury history that preceded last year. Grenard, to me, he brings a lot of the things, assuming that his health holds up, he brings a lot of the things that Flores wants that go beyond the obvious. This is, to Declan's point about Zimmer, the only thing that makes this interesting is, and this is the one place in the draft, let's say that the Vikings do say, you know what, we tried, can't get a top 4 pick. JJ McCarthy's gone, woe is us. And then they do say, but at 23, we're going to take Penix, which I know might not be the most popular thing, but I think that's at least a plausible discussion. The one place that they might use the 11 at, because I think the top of the draft, as O'Connell has talked about, is going to be essentially a ton of offensive players, is defensive tackle. Because if you guys recall, I believe Zimmer's first free agent signing when he got here was Linval Joseph. And Linval Joseph was a force, an absolute force. And that's the one thing that the Vikings, I think, desperately tried to address, obviously was, in their opinion at least, out of their price range. And so now they're throwing bodies at that, hey, let's see if this guy works. Let's see if that guy works. But if they take, I believe it's Byron Murphy the second at 11, now you short up that entire line. And I think that would be the only temptation in the draft defensively. I don't think that they would take edge now. They've got guys I'm not saying that an edge would be the worst thing, but I don't think that they would prioritize it at this point.
I wouldn't put it past them. I mean,
I think defensive tackle though. I think
Yeah,
defensive
it's the
tackle
bigger
because,
need.
and that is a building block place. Like
Yep.
if you get a big DT here who can rush the quarterback, stop the run, you've now theoretically solved a problem for multiple years.
Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to keep an eye on, even starting at like the OTAs and mini camps, which we're going to pop into some of those in the coming
With my notepad.
weeks and months. Judd's got his notepad, his
Training camp observations, OTA observations.
calendar. I
Who
want to
told
hit
you
you
about
guys
Jasmine
with.
Tellus first last year?
I'm going to hit you with a mock here
Who told you guys?
before we wrap this episode. Presented by our friends over at Zero Res. Spring cleaning season, folks. Have Zero Res do it for you with their 4.9 rating on Google, 17,000 reviews. If you call Zero Res today and ask for the Score special, you can get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $129. And this month, take $75 off when you get your Air Ducts Zero Res clean. 952 Zero Res or ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the Score North special. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same. Zero Res. This one is from our friends at DraftBlaster.com, a thinking man's guide to the draft. One of our favorites.
Wouldn't be a draft without the blaster showing up to the party.
They have, let's just start here. They've got the Bears taking Caleb Williams. They've got the Commanders taking Jaden Daniels. And then they have a projected trade for the number 3 pick, where Draft Blaster has the Minnesota Vikings now on the clock. Let's see what they say here. They got, they have like the actual compensation. I don't think they do.
It's the blaster. I'm sure they don't.
The blaster.
They just make trades. It's fine. You know what? Blaster, you do you, and you make trades. So
Dude, I was going to do the Charles Davis NFL.com mock.
no trades.
No trades.
No, then we're not doing it.
Chuck.
Yeah, Chucky.
The Chuckster.
You're good too. You're good.
What are we doing?
You're better than that, Charles.
You are.
You're better than that, and we know it. You are a smart football mind. You do a great job on CBS. And to not do trades, let's just say we're not mad at you. We are disappointed.
Oh, I heard that one a lot.
It's embarrassing. So with the number 3 pick, according to DraftBlaster.com,
Let's get back to it.
the Minnesota Vikings select Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina. And here's the write-up. Vikings quarterbacks coach Josh McCown's connections to Drake May is part of this analysis, but not the deciding factor. You have to think about, did they hire him as let's see here. However, you have to think, they hired him as part of a plan to get May. Now, most mocks will have the Vikings trading up to 5 to get J.J. McCarthy, but after seeing all of his starts, I can't imagine a team would be that giddy to give up the farm for J.J. McCarthy. Thus, Drake May to the Vikings.
I want a mock.
Fillmore would go
have it.
crazy. Fillmore would go nuts.
Oh, my God. Could
And you know
imagine?
what? They wouldn't be, the majority of the folks there will not be upset if they do throw in the 25 first. Thor won't like it, but I think the majority of the folks at the Fillmore will be very happy.
Wait, am I missing something? I'm going through the rest of this mock here.
Uh-oh.
So Marvin Harrison 4, Joe Alt 5, Roma Dunze Giants, Olu Fashanu, Dallas Turner. Okay, Brock Bowers 9, Malik Neighbors 10 to the Jets. Patriots at 11 take J.C. Latham from Alabama. Broncos take Bo Nix 12.
Good for them. You go, Sean Payton.
Raiders take Michael Penix 13.
I can see that, actually.
And J.J. McCarthy
Let's say we know McCarthy.
spirals to 16th where the Seattle Seahawks make the save. Could you see that happening? I mean, it's
Will Levis.
the NFL draft is
Will
weird.
Levis last year, dudes. We all thought he was going top 10 draft night. And yes.
Yeah.
It would be an amazing miss, though, as far as the hype goes, right?
The
Like-
smoke screens would have
Like
have
the
definitely
disconnect.
won over.
The disconnect between the public and the media and the teams would be
Yeah.
an all-time gap.
So, draftblaster.com. Getting kind of squirrely there.
I
with
love,
their latest.
as much as I've told you guys I want the resolution, and I do want the damn resolution. But the day of draft day, like the morning you wake up and you kind of know who's going to maybe be the first overall pick, but then that uncertainty, those Schefter bombs that come out, this guy could end up falling, or that part, and just that 8-hour buildup, 8 to 12-hour buildup.
So great.
I do love that. I do absolutely love that.
You know what we should do, because Dex will be at Target Field covering the Twins game that day for the Score North Twin Show and the new Score North Twin Show YouTube channel. Joe, we should legitimately post up at the Fillmore, like way before anyone gets there. There's an area in the back that we can have internet and stuff. Because let's say they make a trade up to 3 at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah, to be on it, yeah.
Like we'll probably go live and do an episode, emergency episode before we even do the draft party, right?
Yep. And what time, what day or time does a team leak, true or not, like a failed drug test, a real concern about, Penix's knees are actually not there.
His thighs are hovering over his.
He doesn't have. They took his knees out. He doesn't have knees.
JJ McCarthy's cocaine addiction, all that stuff that's going to come out.
I mean, that's going to be the leaks are going to be. They're always glorious because they always go right to Shefty.
The gas mask. So, all right. Well, thank you, draftblaster.com, for thinking of the Vikings and the Drake May pick at number 3. That's a wrap today. Declan has Ventline for you tomorrow, and then so much more next week on Purple Daily here. It's a wonderful time of year. It's a blank canvas for the future of the Minnesota Vikings, who we just want to win a Super Bowl before we die.